Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are on to episode 9 of season 4, which is called Terma. Brian, tell me a little bit about this episode.
Well, it's the second part of a mythology episode. Mythology episodes tend to be big news when it comes to X-Files, particularly for fans, because that's when the big stuff kicks off. The second parts can be hit and miss, I think, because the first parts often set up quite a lot of like, ooh moments. But when you do that, you've got to pay them off. There's few two-parters where the second part has been like up there with the first for me. I'm intrigued to see what you might think of this, to be honest.
Okay, so let's get to the guessing game.
Let's do it. 217 episodes. Where do you think this ranks on IMDb?
I'm going to double down. Last episode I said 78. This one I'm saying 78.
70. Okay, it is 30. No, it's 72.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, as you remember, in the last episode, Mulder got gunked with oil. We pick up straight after at a convalescent home in just some random town, some random old woman. Auntie Janet is taken to a van for treatment. Basically, it looks like euthanasia, to be honest.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think it's definitely euthanasia, but euthanasia gone wrong, if that's possible. I mean, I don't know what euthanasia gone right, but either way, the desired result is achieved. This woman is dead. I'm looking at this. It doesn't look like they're doing anything else. Like they seem quite. Yeah.
It's like she's there. She's like, I'm tired of the pain. I'm ready to go. Blah blah blah. So I've come to this makeshift van, which my favourite part of this, Brian, was when they open the van door and the guy says, "Quick, hurry up! You've got forms to fill out." There's no forms to fill out here. I do not believe for one instance there was any form or signature required.
This is in one of them made-up European countries that's like killing people left, right, and centre. My assumption here is that they have to have this set up because this has to be totally off the books, because this woman is part of we will learn later on, part of a programme, and obviously this person doesn't know she's part of the programme, so they've come along, done some euthanasia, and that's caused the experiment that is within her that only certain people know about, that she doesn't even know about, has caused it to like erupt from her, because it's like, oh crap, gotta get out, something, foreign body is coming in. But all right. So he basically discovers the black oil. It comes out, the daughter of the woman's horrified. Then we go to Russia, and there's an old man drinking tea.
Well, we get the intro scene, and then we get, rather than the truth is out there, we get another statement.
Yes, we get another statement, but I can't pronounce it, so I just thought I'd swing on by. Have you looked into that?
I did the translation for it, Brian.
Go on, excellent.
And it's and yet it moves.
Cool. So we're in Russia. There's an old man drinking tea.
Yeah.
He gets a visit. Vasily Peskov. And he gets there's a lot of people in this episode talking like this with very stiff upper lips. So a man comes to his door and says the Cold War isn't over, but he says it in Russian, not in English.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh, okay, so this guy's being called on to do something. Then we go to Mulder in the prison, and he seems all right. He's just tossed into a cell. He's got his old chum next door talking to him again, and
Get a fresh batch of cockroach, whatever it is, soup.
Yeah, cockroach soup with a few chunks added in for good measure. And his friend next door talks about the black cancer and tells him that he's been tested on with the black cancer, and it's all in aid to try and find a cure. And Mulder's like, "How do you know this?" And he's like, "I don't. I'm just presuming." so actually, it could be anything. It could be anything.
He states that he was a geologist. He was there and helped him find the rock. And nice little backstory about why he's so aggrieved. And then Mulder says, "I have to live long enough to kill Krychek."
Or at least get another punch in.
Yes.
So the man slides a weapon through to Mulder.
A rather large knife, yeah.
Yeah. So it took him 2 weeks to make because he was going to kill himself. But by the time he'd made it, he'd lost heart. So that's quite amusing.
How did things take such an upturn? And that's 2 weeks from in a gulag.
Yeah, it's just oh man.
Yeah,
so then we go to Scully examining a body, and she finds the black organism attached to the pineal gland. Cool. Yeah, rock on. Then Vasily Peskov catches a bus to Richmond.
After giving away the evil man symptom of our way of eating an apple, slicing it with an extremely sharp knife.
Yeah. Because
bad guys do that.
Yeah, this is true. Good men, they just chomp into it.
Yep.
Bad men have to cut it with a knife and take a slice. But he's ever so nice enough to offer a slice to the old dear who's getting on the bus. He must have some kindness in his heart. And after displaying such kindness, he visits one Dr. Carnsayer in her stables and kills her by strangling her. And this guy seems
frail
for his age. and for his seeming frailty, he seems ridiculously strong.
Yep.
Like alien bounty hunter level strong.
Kind of takes her, pins her to the wall, and I was waiting for her lifting the feet off the ground.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's so strong.
Skinner catches up with Scully, tells her the pouch was supposed to be on its way. So this is the pouch from earlier. In the previous episode, a man basically died on his apartment, kind of falling from his apartment. Basically tracked it, and it says that the pouch was supposed to be on its way to Carnsayer, who was killed in a riding accident.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, the timing is impeccable, absolutely impeccable. Mulder is rudely awakened. He's just chilling out, relaxing.
Yep.
Just minding his own business in his cell.
Yeah.
Bunch of guards come in and just start beating the crap out of him.
Oh God!
He's led out with a whole line of people. We get this nice crane shot that kind of follows this line as it gets bigger and bigger. And it comes out, and we kind of see the whole prison, and there's like a truck dropping stuff off. Krychek. Krychek's on the truck, speaking Russian to his new Russian buddies, like he's just been there for weeks. And then Mulder makes a daring escape. He takes out his little knife. He runs over to Krychek, punches him out a couple of times.
He goes way too soon in my eyes. I'm like, there's no way he's getting there. Absolutely none.
Yeah.
It's like Krychek several times and then holds everybody back with this like sharpened piece of metal.
All these armed soldiers.
Put the automatic weapons down. He's got a knife.
Oh no! A pencil sharpener. It's like a letter opener. It's a glorified letter opener. Right, okay. So Mulder basically escapes on this truck. I can only assume that at this point Krycek has revealed himself to be something of a bigwig, and the reason they don't open fire on him is because they don't want to hit Krycek. But whatever. Mulder escapes with apes on horses in pursuit. Russians on horses in pursuit.
Oh gosh,
it's a nice little chase sequence, actually. To be honest, nice little burst of action.
Yeah, until he hits the brakes, and then you're like, oh.
Stereotypical Russian equipment.
Yeah.
So this guy's been driving back and to doing these deliveries for goodness knows how long, and then Mulder trashes his van because it doesn't seem to have any brakes. It's like one could only assume this Russian, was doing handbrake turns around all the corners. Okay, so well manicured man,
kind of getting thrown about, isn't he? He kind of wakes up in the back of the van.
Yeah, just throws himself off.
And with some nice foreshadowing, hurts his arm.
Yes, yeah. The opposite one though, he hurts that one, and they take that one.
Awesome.
Oh man, couldn't have even taken the so he's just left with one dicky arm. It's like, well manicured man is visited by a cancer man who so this is a bit of a kind of a replay of the scene from the previous one, in which well manicured man kind of had the upper hand in the authority department, and we get a scene now between the two of them in which that power dynamic shifts, where Cancer Man's like, oh, so now you need a blunt someone to pull the trigger kind of thing. So yeah, well manicured man is visited by Cancer Man, who provokes him over the death of his personal physician. Basically he was diddling her. He also tells him to call off the congressional hearing. Not quite sure why Cancer Man asks him to do this, but a well manicured man says he can't, but implies that Senator Sorensen could be bought. I
think this might be my favourite scene in this episode. I love it. It's like who can be more smarmy? And then, you know, the kind of upper hand, the changing kind of tone, and then that really nefarious way of saying honourable man.
Oh yeah, they're all honourable. These honourable men. Yeah.
Yes, it's just like implying that they're already in their pocket and they'll do whatever they want. It's just I like that scene a lot.
I love his delivery. Especially
the part of the bit at the start where Cancer Man chastises the man for smoking. Which I loved that. I thought it was great. Yeah. And then immediately lights up. It was just a great sequence.
I've got no F's to give is basically his response.
Yep.
So Krycek runs into a group of armless men. Yep. They're totally armless.
But
it's a bunch of random dudes in the forest, just hanging out in the forest without arms.
Yeah.
Cool.
Worst gang ever. You know?
Yeah.
That's really crazy.
Thing is, it should set off some alarm bells, really, shouldn't it? Get the hell out of there. Mulder hides under some leaves, and who should come stepping across him in this mighty large forest? But on his way home, the truck driver, whose truck Mulder trashed.
I mean, if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. I could be misconstruing the sequence, but I'm pretty sure he lies down in the middle of the road where the guys are going up and down with horses. Like, he just lies, because they're walking by him and things, the people that are searching for him.
No, because he's nowhere near the truck. He's in the forest at this point, and he's under leaves. He's buried himself.
Yeah, they're not looking for him at night, and they're close by him. And then it cuts to the morning time where the guy he's just went to sleep there, and the guy just
yeah. But all I'm saying is like this is a big forest, and conveniently the place where he chose to hide under some leaves. That dude comes walking over him. It's like
it's bonkers. Yeah.
So Scully is sworn in at the committee. Sorensen is pissed. Sorry, I just totally misread my notes. Sorry is passed a note. He's not pissed. He's passed a note. Scully refuses.
This is a repeat of the sequence we got in the first episode, isn't it?
Yes. So
with a bit at the end added on.
Yeah. So we get
that budget. Yeah.
They do this a lot. They do this a lot in the X-Files. They often do this in single episodes where they've got like 35 minutes worth of story. So but when they do it in a two-part, it's like, oh, you couldn't quite fit this all into one episode, could you? But you couldn't quite stretch it to two either. But yeah. So Sorensen's passed the note. Scully refuses to answer when asked of Mulder's whereabouts and is held in contempt, which obviously is how we started way back at the beginning. So the truck driver finds Mulder. Before Mulder hid under some leaves, this is where the truck driver finds Mulder, takes him home. His wife chats with him, says that, they have a bit of an argument because the guy's like pissed that he ruined his truck, but the wife's a bit more caring. It's like, no, we got to look after him, we got to take care of him. They'll be coming after him and stuff. So they suggest that they should do the only thing any sane person would do and cut off Mulder's arm. That's the best way to stop them continuing the tests. Because if you got no arm, they can't inject you with the smallpox vaccination thing. And then at that point, Jason Voorhees, the Russian husband comes through the door holding a big machete, seriously looking like the 2009 remake version of Jason Voorhees. So that obviously sets up this notion that, oh no, is Mulder going to get his arm cut off? Of course he's not. Yeah. But someone is. Straight after this, poor old Krycek, as if he's not been beaten up enough in these past, 1.5 episodes, just chilling, sleeping by the fire, and then the armless men all pin him down and cut off his arm while he's awake.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's great. And he just screams and screams and screams. Like,
yeah. And it's funny because you watch Mulder beat up on him all through the first episode, and you feel a bit like, poor Krycek, and now you're watching an arm get cut off, and you're like, that's you.
Yeah,
it's strange. It's hilarious.
It is.
It's such
really
a wonderful sequence.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like Freaks. The old Todd Browning movie.
Yeah.
At the end, they kind of converge on someone and do something nasty thing to him.
And it turns Krycek into the kind of villain you used to get in like 80s and 70s and 80s.
Brian, in the next episode, if Mulder doesn't say it wasn't me, it was the one-armed man, I'm going to be unhappy.
Yeah. So Skinner goes to see Scully in her cell. He asks her why she won't just answer the questions, and she tells him it's because they are asking the wrong questions. The questions about Mulder are just a diversion to avoid getting to grips with what was going on with the pouch, what was going on with the rock, why there's a doctor who's been infected with this thing.
Let me ask a question. What's the Senate committee for? What are they trying to figure out? What is it? What are they investigating? The dead body at...
They're investigating the dead body at Skinner's.
So why would that need a Senate committee to do that?
Because it was on the property of an FBI assistant director. So they have to, obviously, one, you've instantly got to determine whether this is murder, but because it's at a federal level, you've also got to determine, is there any kind of conspiracy involved? And given that Mulder has done a bunk and can't be found, they're making it all about that. Well, if there's a body that has gone and Mulder's done a bunk, and these two don't seem to be able to tell us where he's gone, we're gonna make it about that. So we're gonna try and somehow steer it in that direction.
I want zero other information. We just want to know where Mulder is.
Yeah.
And are we going to have one of those recesses yet again? Go on, make me do a recess.
So right, so Peskov injects the infected doctor and takes the rock. I love how this dude just walks in to this place. It just walks in there. I mean, this is like CDC level stuff. But certainly at this point, the dude's been infected with something.
Oh, and this is the ghost that walks. This guy can just do whatever he wants.
Straight in, takes the rock, kills the dude. Okay. This guy has to be some kind of alien shapeshifter. It's like, I feel like they had every intention of bringing this dude back and revealing that he was the Russian equivalent of the shapeshifters, because he flipping well should be, given how good he is at what he does. So well manicured man asks Cancer Man how the Russians could know that they, the Americans, are working on their own inoculation. Only 6 people knew. And he tells Cancer Man to find Peskov, because obviously they got him on camera, they've identified him, and they know that he's, this Russian hitman.
It just reminded me of a fantastic line, and I can't remember if it was this scene or earlier, where Cancer Man says, if you poke the sleeping Russian bear, he might awake and find that you've stole his honey.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's fantastic. What a great line.
Yeah. So Scully is back in the hearing. Mulder shows up. So it's this big tense moment. For me, the air on the side of slightly over dramatic. The way Mulder walks in with his swagger and the music soars.
It's so cringy.
It is.
Hero walk.
It is really cringy. It's like it could have only been more cringe if it had come in from above and done a 3-point landing. It's just like,
and that walk has got strong odours of Zoolander all over it. It's just unbelievable. The sheer cockiness and everything about Mulder there is just like, me.
It's just his timing. Yeah, absolutely. It's just his timing. I feel like he got there 10 minutes ago, but he's been waiting outside because he's like, I'm gonna oh no, what, me? It's just like, oh, what? Come on, you showman. Just pure showboating. So it is a bit cringe. It's got to be said. And then as soon as he gets there, he starts going into a tirade, a typical Mulder rant about how, they're ignoring all the evidence of extraterrestrial life and all this, that, and the other, and just digging his own grave.
It's the usual point where Scully's being like factual, scientific, putting her point across great, and then Mulder comes in and he's like, it's aliens! Oh my god!
Buggers it up. When are you just going to admit that it's aliens?
While he's putting on a tinfoil hat and like eating paste. Just like, this guy has lost it.
Okay, so then Skinner shows up with some bad news leading to a recess. Okay, so Scully tells Mulder that they need to get to Boca Raton. The woman who died in the opening sequence was under the care of Khan Sayer at the hospital in Boca Raton. So, Don't quite know how she heard about it, but yeah, should have looked into Kansei's patients, no doubt. And, yeah. So Peskov goes into the convalescent home and swaps some pills, basically killing all of the residents, just as Mulder and Scully arrive. And thankfully, Scully checks a few bodies to find out they're all dead. And thankfully, the one that she didn't check was Peskov, who is just hiding under the covers and makes his getaway once they leave the room.
Which is great, because you literally, what they've done is they've checked 2 patients and just assumed everybody's dead. Just like, they're all dead. Just phone somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Mulder and Scully arrive after the meds have been given. Everyone's dead. Peskov walks out. Mulder takes Scully to visit the militiaman who's in jail that was with Krycek right at the beginning of the first episode. And he goes in to ask him about Krycek. And this is where he asks, where he says that Krycek said they found him in a missile silo, and this guy says, I don't know anything about a missile silo. But this guy looks about as trustworthy as, I don't know, chocolate-covered bacon. It just, I don't trust, like, this is one occasion where I'm actually going to trust that Krycek was telling the truth. Because these guys are dodgy, they were clearly caught up in some terrorist activities. So he's not just going to hand out information willy-nilly. Yeah, we found him in a missile silo, because what we were doing in a missile silo, obviously we were looking for tech that we could use for our terrorist activity. So I've got no problem believing that this is how Krycek got out, and this guy is just lying. So he says that Krycek said his name was Artson, which, again, could be a lie. Or it could genuinely be his Russian name, or just one of many identities, which I'm going to only assume is the case. Mulder strong-arms this guy into telling him where Artson had stored a second bomb. And all this guy gives him is in a storage unit in Terma, North Dakota. And then that's it, they're out.
Yeah. Now, let's just not... But you're bypassing the fact that Mulder threatens this guy with rape. That's his threat to him.
Well, yeah, not from him, though. Just sort of like from... No. He threatens that he's going to have him moved to a cell that, where there might be some big... Rape. Yeah.
And then we get to the... I'd say, like you've alluded to, the biggest problem with this episode.
Yeah.
The ending is almost just... Yeah, where do you go?
See, I've semi-worked this out, but
you shouldn't have to work it.
No, I shouldn't have to work this out. So, when they come out of the cell, Mulder tells Scully to have everyone at the borders stop check vans, that might be somewhat suspicious. Then we see Peskov having his stop check, because he opens the van and it's just fertilizer for my tomatoes, prize green tomatoes, and the guy's like, yes, okay, on your way. Now I feel like there's a scene missing.
Fertilizer.
Yeah, so much fertilizer. Yeah. But my assumption is that stop check guy would be looking out for dodgy vans like that, and has now phoned it in to the FBI. So that would explain to me how they get to the vicinity of where they are, and why they're looking around that area in a chopper. Because because otherwise there's no reason really to see that sequence in which we see Peskov stopped.
But he passes the border, and then he could have driven for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Why did they end up at the plant?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. We could have done without having seen, right, lose the Senate committee hearing at the beginning of part 1. Stick the opening of this one with a convalescent home as the teaser for part 1 that we'll get back to later, and then leave room in this episode to just have a few extra sequences that fill in those blanks, i.e. that guy getting on the blower to the FBI, guy's just passed through, the van's don't look kosher to me, and then, you know, Scully going to Mulder, we've had a radio call, van's been spotted near a plant outside Terma, that sounds reasonable, you know, let's check that out. Boom! It's 2 little sequences that fill in, but it's such a. We go from the prison cell in which the guy says, "Oh yeah, we had a van stored in a thing in Terma, North Dakota." They leave the cell, and then the next minute they're flying over a flipping oil refinery thing in a helicopter, and we're like, "Whoa, hang on, how did you get there?" Like, what did you just look? Did you fly over the whole of Terma, North Dakota, just looking for randomly parked vans?
Yeah.
You know, and we get this line about what would you want to do? How would you get rid of a rock, something like that? And you know, how would you make sure something stays buried or something like that? And Scully said you put it back in the ground, and it's like, okay. And I feel like that's supposed to be some kind of link as well that lets us know how they got there. But it's all just like you're throwing things at us that don't really, like, why would you put it in the ground?
Yeah.
And you know, why would you need to go to this? Why would you need to go to this oil place, stick it in a pipe, blow it up? Like, is that meant? I don't get it. I feel like there are, you know, acid.
It just feels. It comes out of nowhere, and it doesn't feel connective.
It all feels like an excuse to have this exploding van at the end. We need an explosive ending, and we need helicopters, and you know, and just like this guy who's really efficient, or certainly has been so far. I feel like you just find a bath of acid, dump that thing in there, be on his way. It don't make sense to me, all of this. It just feels like histrionics. It feels like for the sake of having an explosive finale, they don't get there logically. So, all right. Yeah, so Mulder goes down, tries to grab this rock, hears a ticking, does a runner, the van blows up, Peskov takes Scully's gun, does a runner, and that's that. So yeah, okay, kaboom. There's
Cool.
Senate subcommittee hearing once again. Scully tries to present evidence of extraterrestrial life, but the committee try to dismiss it. Sorry, this is where Mulder went off on a rant. So this is when he goes off on his alien rant.
But before he starts, these guys are itching for a recess. They're looking for any reason to stop this.
They're all looking at each other going, recess?
Recess?
So, so we go from there to Peskov being greeted by somebody with a plastic hand. It is none other than Krychek. And this is the thing. He's dipping a tea bag with this plastic hand, which can't move. You can't move it.
He's taking the tea bag.
Yeah,
he's
taken it. He's put it on the plastic hand like that. Squeezed the fingers together, and then he's like, put it in the tea. Waited for him to come to the door, just so he can sit back and go, "Yes, comrade. Hello." It's just like, it's a bit silly. It's just, this episode's silly. There's just things in it that, like, I appreciate it. I really appreciate Krychek having the plastic hand. I love it because it's like a 70s TV villain. You know, it's great. I love that stuff. But it's just, why would he be sat there with his plastic hand dipping a tea bag? It just, zero sense. Okay, so final scene, Senator Sorensen reviews the evidence, which basically means chucking it in the bin with Cancer. He hands it to Cancer Man, and Cancer Man chucks it in the bin. So,
no shredding, no burning, no destroying.
I'm assuming they're making a shredding pile. I'm going to assume that pile is going to get shredded later.
Yeah, we can hope so.
Yeah. Although, given what we know about governments and their ability to just throw information out into the world, probably not. So there you go. That is that episode. Final thoughts.
I find this episode, much like the Russian character, very silly. It's got so much just general silliness about it, like the attack that Mulder does on Krychek, and then there's no brakes in the car or the van. It's just silly. The fact that the man just stumbles over him in the woods, like how, and manages to go to the exact spot and just pull this man out of the leaves. It's just silly. There's so many. Just the ending doesn't hold together. I mean, there's fun in this episode. There is a lot of fun to be had. The whole stuff with Krychek, the stuff with the well manicured man and the cigarette smoking man is terrific again. But for me, I think it's probably a 3.5, and I think I might even be generous with a 3.5.
I think you're being generous. I was being very generous before we went into our review, but again, this is one of those episodes. The more I'm going to a 3. I think that on just from a pure logic level, just like the technical level with regards to storytelling, I feel like this is a 2. But I feel like the entertainment value, because it's got so much in it that I just, all right, this is silly, this is stupid, but I'm having fun. Krychek's one of my favourite characters in this show. He goes through the ringer throughout this whole 2-parter, and I love it. I do love the comeback from CSM with Well Manicured Man. I love the fact that all of a sudden Mulder's become a hard man, and it's just like, it just doesn't work. It's just like, I prefer my Mulder to get slapped around and kind of lose fights and stuff, and get his ass handed to him. Yeah, big time. I like the way that I like the way that Scully holds herself at the Senate committee before it's derailed by Mulder. The explosion is nice. It is pretty thrilling to watch. This crazy Russian hitman guy who just walks into places and randomly does. It's silly, but it's entertaining. It's one of those one-off characters that you do kind of wish they'd brought back as a recurring villain. It's silly, it's stupid, it's nonsensical, but I do have a lot of fun with it. So it's a 3. It's a 3.
Well, let's swiftly move on and tell me a little bit about Paper Hearts.
Right, it's been a while since I've seen it, but just going off memory, I mean, there is another episode later in the season that's a contender, but for me personally, this might be my favourite episode of the season.
And we're only at episode 10.
Yeah, it stars Tom Noonan.
Oh yeah, okay.
So he plays a serial killer, and so this is basically for Mulder what Beyond the Sea was for Scully.
Ah, right, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds, you've sold that really well. That sounds fantastic. I can't wait to watch that one. Yeah. Sparked a bit of curiosity there, Brian. So join us for the next episode where we talk about Paper Hearts. We appreciate your listening or watching, whether it be on YouTube or Apple. So don't forget to like or give us a rating, because that would be fantastic. And we will see you next episode for Paper Hearts. Thanks for watching.